Good morning. It's Saturday and it's KLOE Goodland. Time for gardening with the garden guru, Christie Rasure. Brought to you today by Shore's Bumper to Bumper downtown Goodland. My goodness, they've been open since 5. Christie Rasure, good Saturday to you.
Good Saturday, good fall to you.
Oh, man, I'm here to tell you, friends, it's been nippy the last different week or so.
Yeah, I was going to say, last Saturday, that was just downright cold.
It was, and it was the snow. That was the early snow. It wasn't the earliest snow, but it was an early snow.
Yeah, it was. And you know, we've had as far as for some years, I mean, this is really considered a late fall as far as the freeze goes and all that. And so it's kind of nice to be able to enjoy our flowers and plants and all, but when it got cold, going from a 90-degree day down to a 30-degree day, that hurts.
Oh, yeah. Well, I heard some of the tech college students that are from warmer climates, and they said, this is crazy weather, man. And I said, yeah, it is. But for Kansas, no, not really.
I know. I was going to say, they are suffering. Some of those people are from truly countries that don't ever see snow, don't even know what snow is. And it's like, oh, I do feel for them.
Oh, myself, too. And it was something they got to see that, as you say, they don't have at their home in the warmer climates. Well, it was good moisture. It helped everybody, kind of put a good spin on everybody, I think.
It was. And I was going to say, I don't think anybody's complaining because we need moisture so bad.
No.
But it's just, we're not ready for that cold.
Even with what we've had, we still need more.
That's right. I was going to say we do. We really do need a lot more. But, you know, that takes us right into putting our beds to bed. Some places have gotten some of the freezes and everything. Some of people are putting their beds to bed, and others are not. And even within Goodland, I've heard a number of people say they haven't had that freeze yet. Mm-hmm. Their flowers are still great.
Well, I see quite a few around town that still look real nice around some of the city mailboxes in their front yards and along their houses and everything. Of course, Shore's Bumper to Bumper, they're ready to help you and Fertilome products get your yard and garden and all put to bed for the winter time.
That's right. I was going to say, and we've got Shore's has all the stuff to use on that yard, and we want to talk about that today.
All right. Well, let's hop to it. Shore's is ready to help you. They've been doing remodeling and reworking, and boy, is that going to be a fantastic store. It is now, but it's going to be fantasticer.
It is. I was going to say it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, keep watching all the progress. And I don't know which weekend it is that Greg goes to market, but he's heading to market and coming home with all sorts of new stuff for all of us. And we're excited about that. If you have something that you're looking for, still go down to the store and talk to Greg or the guys, and he can put it on the list and see if he can find it. Yeah,
I talked to him the other day, and Greg says he just absolutely loves going to the markets. He said it's a lot of work. There are long days because you're at this dealer, you're at this dealer, you're at this place, you're looking at this, and then you get sidetracked and see something, oh, gosh, I need to learn more about that. So it is a very intense a week for him.
It is. It is very hard. I'd say anybody that's ever gone to market can say the same thing. It is a very tough time, but you learn a lot for about a month to 6 weeks. Your brain is still filtering through that, and you're going, oh, I remember this, or I remember that, or you bring the literature home and you have to review it just to remember what you actually saw.
Yeah, and then get it timed out so he'll be ordering for next spring and summer this in the next week or so.
That's right. I was going to say, because it doesn't come in until February or March, but they do place the orders now.
Wow. Well, let's get things shut down, at least downsize for fall. What do we need to start doing, Christie Rasure?
Well, what we need to do is, number one, I want to tell everybody to go and make sure that you've got your hoses turned off at night. Make sure that you unplug them because at this time of year, we never know if it is going to freeze. And, you know, the weatherman is trying to predict and trying to tell us when it's going to freeze, but that doesn't mean that he's always going to be able to. And I know that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. That's when I did catch my freezes. It wasn't predicted.
Surprise,
yeah. And so, but that was all right because I did have my hoses unhooked. And but you want to make sure that you do that so you don't freeze any of those lines.
And we want to blow the hoses out or make sure the water's gone, or is that something yet?
Yeah, I was going to say on your sprinkler systems, it wouldn't be a bad idea to be doing that. Also make sure that your breaker box or your valve box is covered so it doesn't freeze.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
I like that. And
Right.
pump heads, well,
Oh,
for your spigots.
yeah, I was going to say you really don't have to worry about those. Just make sure your hose is off of it. But, if you use your hose during the day, make sure you unhook it at night. Now, make sure that's always done every night, and that's just common. Just make that as one of your duties every day. Make sure those are undone. And then once you've done that, I don't really want to say put your hoses away yet because we're still going to have some nice days, and that yard needs to be watered. Now, if you've got a sprinkler system, yes, it is time to start shutting your sprinkler system down if you have somebody who does that. But as far as keeping the hoses out, keeping sprinklers out, I really recommend that because we don't know how dry this winter is going to be, and before that ground freezes, we want to be watering as much as we can. So keep it going.
Good point, and kind of keep track of how much you put on.
Yeah, it's wise to be doing that. Right now, especially if you're out in the country, you can't water enough.
Oh, yeah.
I really hate to say it that way, but it's kind of true. It's just we are that dry out in the country.
And we will be.
Yeah.
We're just way behind. We're about 8 inches behind of normal supplies, and that's a 20-year normal forecast is what they look at. When I say normal, it's not from year to year, but we are behind even from last year.
We are. And the thing is, we really are struggling as far as the water goes. It's struggling. Everything's struggling right now. And so we're just having to go ahead and say, okay, we've got to make sure everything's watered well before this winter comes in.
Great point. And don't forget to turn the water off, too, if you're going on vacation or somewhere. Or maybe have your neighbor do it. Help out.
Yeah, I was going to say, right now I'm watching a number of homes. People are gone, and that's what we're watching constantly is people's, whether it's inside or outside, you always make sure you check their house and make sure that they do not have water leaking or a busted line.
Oh, great point. Yeah, everybody kind of look out for each other.
That's right, exactly. We have to do that once in a while.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Well, Shores has all the products, even if you're going to do some yard work or garden work or mixing in and doing your fall tilling. What should Shores be having there to help everybody with the Fertilome products?
Well, as far as the Fertilome products, right now is a good time to be thinking about putting Winterizer on. Winterizer is a good product to be putting on at this time of year. As far as what it does is, I want to say, feeds the plants for next spring, and it just kind of puts it to bed, puts that grass to bed. But actually, what it also does is it puts the right nutrients in for it'll come back next spring, and it's just one of those things that you want to do. We always say do it between Columbus Day and Thanksgiving, so anytime from now on would be great. And make sure you get it watered in well.
That's it. And are we talking granular or spraying on?
What I've always seen is granular, and that's what I really recommend is because it's easier to put that on and then go ahead and put your water on.
Mm-hmm. How do you do this? You have a little tractor or do you have a little push unit, and do you crisscross your yard?
Okay, on putting on the fertilizer?
Yes.
Okay, the best way, and it'll show you on the bag, is to go north and south, east and west. And it'll tell you exactly what to set your spreader on, and then it'll show you exactly how to do it. And so that's one of the things. Make sure you read the directions and follow the directions the way that it says to do it.
Yeah, sometimes our minds tend to think, well, I could put more on and only make one trip. Well, that could be the worst trip you've made.
It can. And I will say, not always do I go and go north, south, east, and west. Sometimes I will just go one direction, depending on how my yard lays. Sometimes I'm going to be putting too much on if I'm going both directions. And so just, your yard, how you can do it, and it tells you exactly the best way to do it.
Yeah. Is this colder weather at times going to get rid of those goofy little grubs?
You know what? They like to stay in that ground all winter sometimes. And so if you are having problems with grubs, which it's kind of hard, the only way you really see it now is if you're digging in the ground a lot. that's when I see my grubs at this time of year or in the spring, is when I'm digging, planting trees or whatever. Then I will see them. Then I will make sure I'm treating. But hopefully that everybody's put on the season-long grub control, and so you don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm. And what's it called from
It
Fertile
is
Home?
called Grub Free Zone, and so we want to keep our yard free of those stupid grubs.
Grub Free Zone. There
Grub
again,
Free Zone.
Fertile Home, naming the products, easy to remember.
That's right, exactly. So, but it's a great product, and then, like I said, but make sure you get a winterizer on now, and get it watered in well. And then from there, make sure all of your flower beds are cleaned up. It is best not to keep the plants in your yard. It is partly because of the fungus and the diseases that can harbor into your yard from keeping like your annuals and your perennials, so it is wise to cut them down. The only perennial that is wise to leave it up, well, two of them, are your grasses, and you want to leave them because they are a four-season beauty, as we call it, and they blow and they sway in the wind, so pretty in the fall and the winter, but they also feed the birds also.
Oh, sure.
And so the seed heads that are on there, the birds really like those. So leave them up. Also, leave any of your chrysanthemums, mum plants. A lot of them are just blooming now, but leave them until February or March. Do not take them down until then, because that is the way it protects that plant. And a lot of times it will come up through the winter, and that's the protection for that plant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so leave that up and protected, and then that and the grasses, otherwise clean everything else up. And then what I like to do, too, is go in, like in the fall, work around my plants. Sometimes, depending on what time I have, I will put mulch. Well, I always put my leaf mulch around there, but if I have time, I will work some peat moss in there around my plants and make sure that they're just a better living environment for my perennials. And what I do now will save me time in the spring. So I try to do a lot of my work in the fall because, number one, my body's more in shape than it is in the spring, and I'm getting a lot more done. It just saves me time next spring, too.
That mulch, that's kind of like a nice little natural blanket.
Yes, it is. And it keeps it because we have such a time with heaving, with the freeze and the thaw, and so it protects those roots of those plants, and that's something we definitely want to make sure. Rose gardens, if you've got roses or a rose garden, make sure that it is well mulched. And some people say don't mulch it until in December or, once the ground is froze. But I have found it to be better to go and mulch it now, get that so that it holds that moisture in better, and then it freezes more as that ground freezes. It goes and freezes more uniformly, and I don't have the freeze-thaw problem quite as bad that way.
Well, in the last week or so, the soil temperature has really dropped like 20 degrees over last weekend.
I heard you say that the other day, and I was surprised how fast it was dropping.
That's fast.
Yeah.
You think it's because it's the dryness and it's not holding any heat?
Well, that's part of it. It's also, our nighttime temperatures have just been so cold. And, and when even though you have hot days, that nighttime temperature has really been cold. And so that's what's been part of it, too.
Yeah, certainly not any of the big, heavy moisture. Now, that could happen any time, but we do pay attention to the soil temperature. And,
that's right.
And we're getting closer to the average first freeze. We've already had frost.
Yeah, we've had frost.
So we checked that one off.
Right, exactly. But as far as heavy freeze, we really haven't had a hard freeze yet. But, yeah, usually around the 10th of October is our first freeze date, the average first freeze date for Sherman County.
Yeah.
And
and other areas maybe a little bit later, Atwood, Colby, St. Francis, Burlington, some of those, it all varies. We should be getting a readout on that in the next couple of days as the average first frost, the earliest and freeze, the earliest and latest too.
Yeah.
Stay with us, gang. It's Gardening with the Garden Guru, Christie Rasure, presented by Shore's Bumper to Bumper, downtown Goodland. My goodness, they've been open since 5 this morning, Monday through Saturday. They're open early with the Fertilome yard and garden products, just about everything you need. And Christie Rasure, your master gardener, is with us. Really quick, Christie, while we're talking about Shore's, they've been doing some reworking and reshelving, and they're going to get some new products in, too.
They are, and lots of new products coming in. Like I said earlier, Greg is going to market, seeing all the new stuff, and I can't wait to find out what he's bringing in.
Well, you know, it's got to be exciting for Greg, too, don't you think?
Oh, it is. It is, and I think it is just a lot of fun just to see what is new out there and what we can bring in and what we can what new products we can go and be working with next year. Well,
there's so much that he does, and Shores do more than most people will ever, I think, realize. Don't you feel that way?
I agree with that too, and it's a pleasure to work with these people. So.
Yeah. How about the gardens?
That's what we need to talk about next.
Big time.
Big time. I will say, last weekend I canned and I froze and I dehydrated. Now's the time that you want to get all that produce brought in, and if you haven't had that hard freeze and lost your tomatoes, great. I mean, you're lucky. But if if you have, hopefully you saved a lot of that produce, and what you can do is just, or what you're doing now is canning and putting everything away that you can. And that's what I was doing last weekend, and got a lot of stuff froze, got a lot of stuff canned, had the dehydrators going, and so I'm getting ready for winter, and was able to pick a number of tomatoes that had not froze, and I was very fortunate on that had not froze. They were green, and what I was able to do was then take those, and I don't wrap mine. Some people will wrap them and then check them constantly, see if they have gone and ripened on their own and that kind of stuff. I just lay mine out and just kind of in a cool room and just watch them and just use them as they get ripe.
Oh.
Some years I've had them up until Thanksgiving because I try to keep them in a really cool room. Some years I've had them, close to Christmas. You just never know. And it depends on how many I've saved, too. But this year, if I have them till October or till Halloween, because I wasn't able to save a whole lot, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Tell us, what is it you do with cantaloupe? Did you make some, is it mush or something you do something? I think that's a great idea because I love cantaloupe anytime.
Well, we actually make, my kids like smoothies, the cantaloupe smoothies. And what we do is take them, cut them in half, clean the seeds out, then take the rinds off of them, stick them in a blender, and then put a little bit, and I mean a little tiny bit, of either vanilla or almond flavor, and then a little bit of ice cream. I don't put much ice cream at all in there, and we actually make smoothies. And what I do for the wintertime is I take them and go ahead and blend that cantaloupe. All I do is put just a tiny bit of sugar, and I mean, maybe a teaspoon of sugar in there. No ice cream, no vanilla or almond. I just put the sugar and the cantaloupe, and then what I do is I put them in Ziploc bags and freeze them flat. And then in the winter, when the snow is blowing and all, and it's nasty out, and I want a touch of summer, I pull one of those bags out, put it back in the blender, put a little ice cream in it, and we have our smoothies.
Oh, what a great idea. Boy, that just sounds so good, especially if you love cantaloupe. If you don't care for it, then that's not the thing to do.
I'll tell you what, it is so good. And like I said, my kids have always, that's a treat. And you just get so hungry for it. And the cantaloupe season is so short. And so to have a piece of that garden at that time of year, oh, it's wonderful.
Sure.
And I've actually done it with watermelon also.
Oh.
And the kids like that too. So,
I like that. Well, and you could surprise a guest that comes over.
Oh, yeah. That's just something that's so good. And it's good for you. It's a healthy thing for you. Yeah, it's got a little ice cream in it. It's got a little sugar in it. But, it's still good for you.
Oh, you got to treat yourself sometimes,
That's
don't
right.
you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like tomatoes, I have never gone and done my salsa freshly. Well, I shouldn't say never, because I have done some of it in the summer. But I like to do my salsa in the winter when it's really nasty and cold out, because it warms up the house. And so I always go and freeze my tomatoes, freeze the peppers and onions together. I get them, everything's chopped up. Tomatoes are separated. I do whatever it takes for a batch. I put in Ziploc bags, get them froze. In the bag with the peppers, I get all my peppers chopped up, all my onions chopped up, put them together, stick them in bags, get them in the freezer. And then when it comes down time to do it, I just bring all the bags out of the freezer and start making it up.
Do you have more than one freezer, Christie?
Oh, yeah, I do.
I kind of thought so.
Yeah, I do.
I like that idea.
That way I can do all my canning at one time. And like I said, on a cold day, like, last Saturday was just so cold, or last Sunday was so cold and nasty, and it was just a great day to warm up the house. And what a wonderful way to, all the smells and everything, because I was doing some pickling and all that kind of stuff. So, it was wonderful.
Sure. Well, we have about 9 minutes left in our program today. Gardening with the Garden Guru, Christie Rasure, presented by Shore's Bumper to Bumper and those great quality Fertilome yard and garden products. Shore's has indoor units that you can grow tomatoes and things inside during the year, and you're not going to be spending an arm and a leg on heavy-duty electrical use.
That's right. I was going to say it uses the T5 or T8. I can't remember exactly which light bulb it takes, but very bright light. It is as if we were outside in the sun, and it's one of those things that you can go ahead and start your seeds now and grow a garden inside during the winter. And a lot of people have. It works really well, and it's what a way to be able to keep your hands dirty in the winter.
Sure. Well, they could grow, tomatoes and little herbs and spices. What else could they throw in?
You could do some cucumbers. If you can keep it warm enough in wherever you're going to keep it, you've got to keep it warm for cucumbers. Peppers the same way. They want heat. They need light too, but they need heat. But tomatoes are what we usually think of, or flowers. Some people don't really necessarily want to grow vegetables. They just want to have flowers. They want to have something pretty to see during the winter. Don't blame them. And this way you can do it. And that is one of those things that Greg found at market last year, was the hydroponic system. And so it's been something that new and all exciting that we can enjoy. And I know he's trying to get some people out to give a workshop on it. And I'm hoping that it all works so that we can all learn the proper ways of growing hydroponics.
Well, it's Saturday the 13th of October, and, Christmas is not that far away. And if you have a gardener in your family, one of those kits would be just right. Oh,
it'd be wonderful, yes. And so, yeah, and, it's not too early to be thinking of Christmas. So go down there, see what he has. It's not too early or not too late to be going and getting some seeds, too. If you've got somebody on your gardening list but maybe lives away from town or lives out of the county and all, and you want to send them a Christmas card but like to send them a little something, send them a pack of seeds, even some herbs, because in January, gardeners are itching. And so it'd be a nice thing to have in a Christmas card, a packet of seeds. And I know I've had that happen before, and I've enjoyed that.
Oh, what a fun surprise.
Yes.
And then by the time January rolls around, you've got the seed pack memorized, you've got the instructions memorized, everything.
A lot of times that's what I'll do on New Year's Day, is go and plant something, and because they always say that if you're planting the future, and so you're planting hope for the new year.
Great.
And I've always been told that, and so I always try to do something like that around New Year's.
What a great idea.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something we do. Also, what we need to be doing right now, too, is if your garden has froze, you need to be thinking about cleaning it out. And next week we'll talk more about really putting the garden to bed, because I know we don't have time today to be talking step by step. But what you need to be doing is getting everything cleaned out of that garden. And whether it's froze or not, you need to be getting everything out. Like we said, vines, tomato vines, cucumbers, cantaloupe, watermelon, squash, pumpkins, any of those vines need to come out of that garden. Do not compost it in, because they actually harbor fungus, they harbor diseases. And so we want to make sure they're out of there and get them not into a compost pile, but get them taken out to the landfill.
And the great old saying, it is now, vines are not fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You like that?
Right. Yeah, I was going to say we want to make sure that they do not stay because they are not fine. And so get them out of there, get them out of that garden and get them cleaned up.
Good idea. Time to get rototiller, lawnmowers, snow blowers, blade sharpening. Shores can take care of that. Service work, Briggs & Stratton, factory authorized and trained. The warranty people, repair service, that's Shores. So don't void your Briggs & Stratton engine warranty and take it to someplace. Oh, yeah, I can fix that.
Yeah, not everybody can do that. And you do want to make sure that your warranty stays good. And so go ahead and take it down there. You're not done with the lawnmower yet. I'm afraid to tell you. You're not done yet.
Oh.
Because, even though it freezes, we still have got leaves to pick up. We want to make sure that we get all those leaves cleaned up. And so keep that lawnmower handy for, probably 1 or 2 more weeks.
Should we mulch our yard?
It depends on what kind of lawn you have.
Mine's pretty dead.
Well, do you have bluegrass? Do you have fescue? What kind of grass do you have?
Well, it's not doing anything now.
Yeah, I was going to say. Depending on what kind of lawn you have, it's at this time of year. No, it's best to get those leaves off and don't. I don't actually say compost those leaves in because you can actually do more damage to your yard than ever.
Well, yeah, you talked about leaves that would not be good for us last week. Let's go through that. We got about 3 minutes left.
We've got anything from black walnuts to American elm. The bigger leaves like that, they can actually cause damage to your yard because they have a poison within their leaf. And as that composts down and everything, it'll actually put a poison in your yard, in your garden, or in your grass. Mm-hmm. So it's best to get those leaves picked up and get them composted. You can compost them. That's no big deal. But get them picked up and get them off that ground so it doesn't smother them and doesn't cause a toxin in that grass.
Good idea. And if they have any questions, they can visit with you or...
They can.
Yeah. What's a good way to reach you, Christie Rasure?
Good way is to call. You can call me or come see me at Designs Unlimited, which is the flower shop where I'm at, or get a hold of Shores. They can always answer your questions. Or Greg and I are both on Facebook. We answer questions often on Facebook, or they get a hold of us by our email address. And mine is cmrasure@yahoo.com.
Okay, drive by again with that.
cmrasure@yahoo.com.
Oh, pretty simple.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, Christie, we're still watering no matter what.
Yes, water. We need just keep on doing that. And as long as the ground is thawed, just remember we need to keep on watering. Mm-hmm. And, hopefully we do get some more moisture. I don't see it in the forecast for a while, but hopefully we can get some more moisture because we definitely need it so badly. But, right now just working on cleanup. Make sure if you've got container gardens and you're not going to keep them, set them inside, that you go ahead and clean them out. And it's always best to wash them out with Clorox water and then make sure they're dried well before you put them away. Mm-hmm. And, all that major cleanup, the more you clean up now, the better off. Number one, your yard looks nicer for the winter, and then the more you have done for the spring.
Sure, and you can look out your window when it's snowing and think, my yard looks nice under all the snow.
Exactly. It's all put to bed.
I think so. Well, Christie, golly, our time has just zoomed by again. It always does when we get together and talk yard and gardening. Gardening with the Garden Guru, Christie Rasure, presented by Shores Bumper to Bumper, downtown Goodland, and the great quality Fertilome yard and garden products. Pay attention to the weather this weekend and all the time right here on the Tri-State Radio Network. Christie, you'll remind us to...
always keep those hands dirty.
That's the way to do it. Thanks so much, gang. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Curtis Duncan. It's KLOE Goodland. 9 o'clock.